Hi, I'm Jeff, and I'm with Radical Honesty, and today I'm continuing the talk on the Israeli-Hamas conflict. This is session number 3, and today I'm going to talk about, I guess, the sympathy that I have for both Israelis and the Palestinians. Because I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, we have a unique sort of a perspective on the human dilemma. Humans and humanity both are the criminals and we are the victims at the same time. So we need to be rebuked and we need to be comforted and cared for, okay? And this is really important in understanding the gospel of Jesus Christ, okay? First, it reveals of our weakness, our sin, if you want a theological term, a biblical term, but also that we need comfort and mercy. When we have this understanding, it helps us in viewing the sort of the dilemma the Israelis and the Palestinians are in. First, the Jews have been wandering this earth for hundreds, thousands of years, They haven't been without a nation, okay? Their nation was sort of kind of brought to an end by the Romans, okay? And then for nearly 2,000 years, they've been sort of wandering and living in different countries in a diaspora. Okay. Now, all you have to do is type in this word pogroms, Pogroms, and do it in Wikipedia, and you get a list of all the different sort of riots that occurred mostly throughout Europe that resulted in deaths of Jews, and sometimes dozens, hundreds, sometimes thousands. The biggest one was Kristallnacht, and sort of the beginning of the millions of Jews that were executed by Hitler and the Nazis. So I have sympathy because they were been unwanted people, okay? Now, I have sympathy for the Palestinians. The reason why is because they, in terms of like the hierarchy of what the Arabs and other Muslims see them, is that they are on sort of like the lower rung, okay? Lower rung. And no one really wants them, since the sort of the wars that occurred in Palestine, the sort of like 1949, and then the Egyptian war in the 60s. Okay, you've had these refugees from Palestine in various countries. One of the reasons why there are these refugees is because Israel has this policy of no return. So Palestinians leave the land of Palestine and because of the war, and they're not allowed to return. So you have various neighboring nations like Egypt, Lebanon, and Jordan having these sort of refugee camps. They're in the millions with these Palestinian refugees. They can't return to Israel, okay, and they don't have citizenship in these countries. I once read an article in Al Jazeera. I often read Al Jazeera, okay, as well as Jerusalem Post. I get both sides about what it meant to be Palestinian in a Jordanian refugee camp. You're neither here nor there. You're in the middle of nowhere, okay, and it's terrible. The surrounding Arab nations don't want more Palestinian refugees flooding into their country, okay? And then they're stuck in Gaza and stuck in the West Bank. And Gaza is really small. I was reading like 3 times the size of San Francisco with almost the same density. Okay, and they're under the sort of control of Israel, and they have their own government, Hamas in Gaza, and then I think it's the Fatah people in the West Bank, but they're not totally free. And they're being used by the Hamas government, okay, and put their military under schools and hospitals. It's terrible. You feel bad for the tens of, or maybe thousands, over 10,000 Palestinians who've died in this conflict. As I feel bad for the over 1,000 Israelis who were murdered in the terrorist attack by Hamas. Okay, both sides are to blame. They do terrible things, okay? The decimation to Palestine, there's really nowhere to run, okay? But also We have guilt, and we also have sympathy for people at the same time. This is what makes this conflict very difficult, because in modern society, we sort of like, we support our home team, and the other team now does everything wrong. But that is not true. There is sympathy and there's rebuke that goes around for both sides. We do the best to pray for peace and just have governments bring a peace. But as I'm going to talk about in the next week's installment, this doesn't really work, okay? What we ultimately need is a solution for the heart of mankind, the heart of a human being, both the criminal aspect of all human beings, but also the fact that we are victims. And that is Jesus Christ.